another episode of Midtown Spotlight. I'm Natalie Graham, and on today's show, we have Andrew from Roehampton Orchids, which is located right here in the heart of Midtown Toronto. Him and his partner Felix are orchid and plant enthusiasts. Their hobby turned business comes from a strong passion of working with both plants and people. They love sharing their knowledge and helping people grow their orchids right in their homes too, which I'm super excited to learn about personally. I have a tendency of maybe not being the best plant mom yet. So I need all the tips on how to keep them alive and healthy and beautiful. So Andrew, you're on board with us today to share your story and your tips. So hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I know it's a gloomy day out there, but plowing through, we're getting into the holiday season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really helpful to have all these beautiful green plants around. So hopefully I can share some great advice and tips. And you guys are always welcome to come by the shop.
Awesome, awesome. I'm so excited to have our chat. So I'll have you kick us off by telling us about Roehampton Orchids and how it bloomed, pun intended.
Yeah, so we're actually a pandemic business. In 2019, we started a business out of a condo on Roehampton Avenue. And if you're actually in the area and walking by one of the buildings in 30 Roehampton, if you look up, you can see the lights, and that's actually our condo where I grow some of the plants. So at some point we needed more space because I was living in a condo with about 3,000 orchids. And the business kind of naturally evolved into a storefront in Midtown, which we really love living and working in the area. Um, and I always was into plants, and originally I was growing kale as vegetables for my smoothies. And my partner Felix actually bought me my first orchid, and that started me on a journey which resulted in me being here.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So you've always had a bit of a green thumb. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you know what? This whole concept of being good with plants right away is not necessarily true. What a lot of people don't really know about me is I kill plants, and that's part of the process of the learning. You kind of start and you get better and better, and I think that's what makes the hobby really exciting. Now, of course, like you shouldn't shy away. There are really, really hardy plants that I call indestructible that I would be surprised if somebody killed. So if you are interested in starting, don't be shy. We can make recommendations of easy to grow things. Of course, there's more complicated plants, but there is beginner friendly plants.
Okay, great. No, that's good to know. And that's encouraging as well, because like I said, I don't have that natural instinct for plants. One time I stayed at an Airbnb that was filled with plants, and part of staying there was taking care of them. And it was one of the most stressful things. So that's encouraging to know that there's kind of plants for all levels of expertise. Is that fair to say?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so I read on your website that you source rare and unique varieties from all over the world. That's amazing. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so originally we're doing this as a hobby. So I like to grow and now sell things that I'm passionate about and that I find beautiful. So we have things, for example, over here, I'll show you a miniature lady slipper from South America. Now they remain very small and compact. You can see this is a mature plant with two flowers on it, and there's a third one coming. And it's very easy to grow and it's found in Southeast Asia. Now, we also have this guy. It is a hybrid, but it's also known as a true black orchid. It's known as a black pearl, and the parents come from South America. And what's really cool is in the wintertime, they lose their leaves, and only these bulbs remain that retain the water. Now, this one only has two flowers, but usually they have about 12 to 15, and they're very fragrant. I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but super dark flowers. In addition, I want to show you the orange one. This comes from the Andes in Peru. It's also a species. It's quite beautiful. It will flower in the same branch for 8 to 12 blooms. So that's just some varieties that we have. I have some more things that I'll sprinkle and I'll add the provenance where they come from throughout the interview.
That is so cool. I didn't know that there was such thing as a black orchid. That is so cool. And I mean, I know that there's many different types of orchids, and I can feel your passion coming through as you show them, which is just amazing. But yeah, I'm excited for you to show us some more throughout our call. So feel free to show them whenever. And yeah, so you've got me thinking, what's something about your business that others may be surprised to hear? Because I feel like there's a couple of things.
Yeah, so in the store, you can see a little bit behind me, but we have two levels, about 2,000 square feet, and it takes me 8 hours to water the entire store. Now, the reason being is every single plant is in its individual pot, so I have to carefully water every single pot, unlike in a garden where you can just hose everything down and the water runs down. So that becomes very laborious. And what I try to do is to keep the humidity a little bit higher, like 50% inside, to reduce the frequency of watering. And I also mentioned to you, I think we were talking before, that I also kill plants. I am a plant killer, and that's just part of the hobby. And everybody just starts, and that's how the journey happens. You get better and better. And of course, as I mentioned, we have plants and techniques, and we also provide ongoing support for the plant parents. So if you buy something from us and you need some help, we're here to help.
That is so cool. I've never heard of a store doing that across like many industries. That is awesome. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and ask you a question about their plant, they can do that after they purchase it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram, Facebook. We also have a group on Facebook that's 12,000 Canadian strong. It's called Canadian Orchid Growers. So we have tons of growers from across Canada growing in their homes, in their basements, in greenhouses to provide tips and advice and how to grow better in our climate. Because not everybody has a greenhouse, let's face it, and most of us are growing in our homes as a hobby.
Absolutely. That's the thing. A lot of us, especially if you're in a condo or even just like a regular, you might not have that separate space for it. So that's good to know. And you mentioned
Yeah.
that you could spend up to 8 hours watering the orchids. So I gotta ask, what motivates you to do that? Do you have a really good playlist or what? How do you get through those 8 hours?
I I don't know. I'm just very passionate. I like observing things, and I find it really fascinating how plants grow and flower. And for me, it's one of the most complicated puzzles there is to make a plant be happy and healthy. And I find that more rewarding than say playing some computer games, right? Because it's a living thing. So I really like the challenge. An article in 2018 where they talked about the mental health benefits of seeing green or plants in your home. So that's been linked to release of dopamine. And what's the interesting thing is they said that in order to get a full benefits of seeing green, you need to have two plants in every direction you look in your home to get that release of dopamine. So when you're fitting out your home with some plants, keep that in mind.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. I learned something new. So I gotta get some more plants in my home. And between that and the Christmas decorations, I should have good vibes all around, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So what would you say your customers, they tell you that they love about your business? What's like maybe the top thing people say they love?
I think as mentioned previously, the ongoing support. In the summer, we actually offered repotting workshops, which we will be doing on a monthly basis. We do it virtually, and when the weather's nice and warm, we do it behind the shop, where we invite customers to come repot, ask questions, get really hands on the plants. and then improve and get better. And we're always available and open. And I think that's part of the hobby, is having somebody you can ask for advice. Because if you go on the internet and you say, my orchid is dying, I need help, you're going to get a billion sources. You don't know what's reliable, who to trust. So I think having that relationship with our customers and being available and also providing good quality product is what customers value from us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I could see that. And what's your most popular orchid that your customers purchase?
Yeah, so I think it's a split. I'll start with the more exciting one. So our specialty are jewel orchids. Now these come from Southeast Asia. They're known for really beautiful foliage, and this one is known as the lightning bolt jewel orchid. So this is really popular, and a lot of people like to grow these in cloches. So this is just an IKEA cloche. It's a glass jar with a base, and you can put that in there and have your jewel orchid in there, and it will maintain the humidity and look beautiful all year round and reduce the watering. So it's a nice little accent touch you can do. A lot of people like to build their own terrariums using the jewel orchids, so that is our specialty. Then secondly, I would say, is the Phalaenopsis. This is the most commonly produced houseplant. This is a white form. The flowers last forever, 2 to 3 months, relatively easy to take care of, and really good windowsill growers. They do well in east, west, and even south-facing light. So I think it's between those two.
Okay, so some of them I actually had never heard about before, and then some of them I definitely recognize. I that makes sense that they're the most popular. Maybe you see them in more stores. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah. So they're typically called grocery store orchids, and they're the most commonly produced houseplant. They produce them in the millions. There's somebody that would like to say hi.
Oh,
That's Felix.
hi.
Well,
Hey, Felix, how are you doing?
doing good.
Awesome. Thanks for popping in. So, okay, this did remind me of a question that I have for you. The names of the orchids can be quite long. How do you know? Like, how did you memorize all of them?
You know what, so when there's Latin names, they can be lengthy and harder to remember. But what happens is when they hybridize, they come up with common names. So for example, this is a catasetum and black pearl, which is quite easy to remember. But the Latin names, yeah, they're challenging. And honestly, a lot of the times I butcher it, and I have my orchid friends that correct me. And the more practice you have, the easier it gets, like with things. So just being patient, and people like to use short forms as well. But it's something that's an ongoing learning process. And of course, you have your favorite plants, which I know 100% what they're called. And you kind of start there and you venture, and it's a very deep rabbit hole. What's very interesting, actually, sorry, it just reminded me, if you're looking at native orchids, Canada has over 48 native orchids. And a lot of people are surprised, like, what? Canada has native orchids? And a lot of these orchids have a dormancy period where they're sleeping, and they flower in the summer and they go to sleep. Now, if you compare Canada to Hawaii, which is an island, do you think there would be more or less native orchids in Hawaii? What do you think, Natalie?
Feeling would be that there's more, but now I feel like it's a trick question. So you're probably going to say no, right? But my instinct would be that there would be more.
Yeah, so it's actually less. There's only four native orchids. By native, we mean they originated, they're there. Now, if you think of like Hawaii, it's basically a rock in the middle of the ocean, right? So there's not much variation in plants versus Canada, which is big. And a lot of people are surprised to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I've maybe this might be a hard question or an easy question. I'm not sure, but what's your favorite?
Oh, that's so hard. But honestly, personally, I showed you guys the Bessie. So I do really love lady slippers. That's the lady slipper family. So they look like this. They have these really big pouches, and that's what the lady slipper name originates from. It's called Paphia pendulum, coming from the Latin name slipper or lady slipper. And these are really cool. They produce these really bulbous pouches, and this one in specific can actually flower on the same branch for up to 7 years. So if you take good care of it, you'll constantly have a flower on it, and there's no green plant. It'll always be in bloom, which I kind of love a lot. And then just overall, they're just really like aesthetic plants. I love the lush green and the blooms, and the forever flowering kinds are really awesome. So let me see, is there anything else? So what a lot of people don't realize is many orchids are fragrant. This is another lady slipper from Vietnam. It's called Adelinatii, and you can see the leaves are beautiful mottled. And this one's actually fragrant. So I think lady slippers would be my favorite genre of orchids. If there's one specific one that's kind of hard to say, but it always changes. Recently, I don't have one in flower, but I bloomed a 17 centimeter Kavakia lady slipper, which is large and purple. I can actually send you a picture. Maybe you can include that on screen so people can see. It's quite large, and I think that's been my trending lady slipper. It always changes month to month.
So yes, please send it my way and I will share it in the video, and then I can also have it, in the thumbnail, right at the beginning of the video so people can see it as well. That sounds beautiful. And okay, so I've got a question for you. Would you say there's one common mistake that most people make when they purchase an orchid?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen it yourself, but a lot of people say use ice cubes to water orchids. That's a big no-no. So, I mean, plants will survive, they're very strong, but what we recommend is using lukewarm tap water. So, what you would have is your plant would be inside the pot, you'd flood the pot with lukewarm tap water, let it sit for 20-30 minutes, drain all excess, and set the plant back. And do not water until it's dry. And guess what? The best tool for checking the moisture, your finger. So make sure you're checking the moisture of the moss. It needs to be completely dry before you water. So no ice cubes, tap water, and make sure the plant dries, because the number one killer is actually overwatering.
My goodness, I'm in shock. I have been told lies my whole life. I have been told to just use an ice cube. No wonder they don't last very long. So thanks, Andrew. And
No
what's
worries.
coming up for Roehampton Orchids? Is there anything that you want customers or new customers to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gearing into the holiday season, and Felix just sent this over here, and you guys can take a look at our beautiful holiday arrangements with these white phalaenopsis, and that's available for customers to purchase in store. We deliver in Toronto. We're also on Uber Eats, so if you don't want to come in, you just want to have it sent, we can do that too, or message us directly, and we can arrange for the delivery. In the summertime, we're at the flower market. We're offering the workshops, but now it's a bit colder, so we're mainly indoors. But our holiday season is kicking in, and we have tons of beautiful arrangements in time for the holidays.
That's amazing. And that was such a beautiful piece that you had put together. I love like the little red ornaments in it. It just feels so festive. And if people want to find you, I know, of course, they can Google Roehampton Orchids, but where can they also find you on the social media platforms?
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's Roehampton Orchids. On Facebook, Roehampton Orchids, one word. You can type it in Google as well. And we're available by email at roehamptonorchids@gmail.com. So roehamptonorchids@gmail.com. Email and Instagram.
I can definitely echo that the website is worth checking out because you have so much information on there. It is a fantastic website. So I definitely think everybody listening should check that out. You've got a lot of great stuff on there.
Yeah, so our website's really awesome. So roehamptonorchids.ca. On there, we have culture sheets, so temperature ranges, fertilizing times, how to take care of the plant you buy. So each product is associated with a care sheet. So if you buy something, you have a reference, which is from coming from our experience and how best to grow it. So you don't have to rely on the internet, and you have a great source of information.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Andrew, it has been an absolute delight chatting with you today and also meeting Felix. So, thank you so much for talking about your passion and the story behind Roehampton Orchids. I really hope that our listeners feel the same as me, that you two are really inspiring. I feel your passion through our call, and I know it's virtual, so that's saying a lot. And I hope that all of us find that in our careers. It's truly a bright spot, and you made my day a little bit brighter. I'm definitely excited to come in. I would love to pick up maybe one of those festive items and just take a look at your store. I haven't had a chance to come in person, so I'm really looking forward to that now. And for our listeners, once again, I've been chatting with Andrew here from Roehampton Orchids in Toronto. And I'm Natalie Graham, your Keller Williams Leaside Realtor and Park Bench local leader. Stay tuned for the next episode when we get to shine a light on another small business in town. See ya, Andrew.
Bye.